I'm Carl Chery. You know me as a writer, creative, executive. But when I'm disrupting, I'm just in the zone. There isn't a specific moment where I fell in love with music, entertainment, Black culture. I think there was a series of moments that over time made me realize how much I loved it and how passionate I was for it. I realized that music was always there from the beginning, whether it's from my dad or my uncle, who, I'm very close to, who are both, musicians in their own right. When I became a teenager, I really fell in love with hip hop specifically. Jay, Biggie, Nas, that felt like me. That felt like my era. That felt like, man, not to compare eras, but it felt like, wow, these guys are taking this genre to the next level. But I feel like the culture really takes shape in that time, because it's not just the music, it's everything surrounding it. Sports, acting, everything. Obviously, New York City is the greatest city in the world, and I think the most inspiring city in the world. There are specific things that are exclusive to New York that are inspiring. I'm probably in the minority in what I'm about to say, but the train has always been extremely inspiring to me. I miss the train. I used to write on the train all the time. I used to read on the train all the time. That, weirdly enough, was a creative hub that I used on my way to school, on my way to work. The easiest thing to say is New York City gave you the hustle because it's a city of hustlers and people walk fast, talk fast, they're about their business. But really, I have to credit my work ethic, my hustle, to my heritage, which is Haiti. Anyone who comes from a family of immigrants, you just have a different set of values instilled in you. Them being strict, the work ethic, as much as I hated it at the time, ended up being something that I absorbed that now helps shape me as a writer, a curator, what have you. I was a big reader of magazines like The Source, XXL. I remember a turning point in the coverage of The Source magazine where there was a lot of backlash on the way they were reporting on things. And their faithful readers, including myself, started feeling a way about some of the decisions they were making. Whether it was, okay, this album only got 4 mics, or this album got 3 and it deserves more. I remember one day thinking to myself, instead of complaining about what they're doing, you should get out there so you can have a voice. My first job in the music industry was being a writer at SOHH.com, one of the first online websites. At the time, I was still working at Red Lobster on weekends. I spent 4 years at SOHH. Eventually, I started working there full time, and my title was senior correspondent. And by that time, my job evolved from not only writing news to also doing video content. So from SOHH, I went to BET.com. I actually had 2 stints at BET. I was there for 6 months the first time as senior news producer. And then I came back to be the executive editor a couple of years later. I remember very vividly the day that I went to lunch with my would-be boss, Kim Osorio, to potentially work for BET.com. I was still working at SOHH. I was in the city doing interviews. So this is how my day went. I interviewed Rosario Dawson. I interviewed 50 Cent. And this is the day that he told me, if Kanye West sells more records than me, I'm gonna retire. I'm getting this exclusive interview, leaving, knowing I have to get back to the office with a bomb. But then I stopped by LaRue 57 to have lunch with Kim Osorio. I obviously took the job, worked with Kim for some time. And when I came back, I was working under Rhonda Cowan. The job was a little different because you serviced a network. So it wasn't about hard-hitting news. No one was going to send you to cover a court trial. We worked closely with the network, creating online extensions for some of the things that were going on television, whether it's 106 in Park and Rap City, Spring Bling. Those trips were fun. I actually haven't thought about the work that I did at BET for some time now. So it's interesting to just do it off the top. It was a fun experience. One of the reasons why I never patterned myself after anyone is that I always felt like I had a unique skill set that no one else out there was really using. Think about it. I started at SOHH. Who's my model? No one's done it. I'm the one doing it for the first time. Similar to how what I'm doing in streaming right now, my journey, when it's all said and done, I will be one of the first curators. There were a few defining moments during my time at Apple Music. The partnership with Chance the Rapper, the Surf project that he had exclusively with Apple. Apple Music hadn't launched yet, so it was a free album on iTunes, which was kind of cool. And then the second step was for us to put out Coloring Book exclusively on Apple Music. I think another thing that happened that really made heads turn was when Cardi B put out Bodak Yellow, and I remember getting the email with Bodak in it before it came out. And I remember my reaction being like, why is this good? And I listened to it a couple more times, and I was like, yo, this is fire. As Bodak took off and became a phenomenon, there's another song that came out around the same time, which was Rockstar from Post Malone. And I remember also getting behind that song very early. At the time, Spotify had a lot more subscribers than Apple Music. But there was one particular week in 2017 where Apple Music had the market share on the number 1 and 2 songs in the country. And those songs were Rockstar and Bodak Yellow. RapCaviar has become an aspirational brand. It became an aspirational brand before I joined Spotify. So my job in regards to the playlist is to preserve it. You just have to uphold that standard. You have to make sure that no matter what, that standard doesn't move for anyone. It's okay if not everyone gets into RapCaviar. It's actually better that way. Like if everyone gets in, then you're not gonna be able to, you lose that aspirational quality. Unfortunately, one of the things that's happening with Spotify, and I think a lot of platforms in general, is that some of their playlists skew male. Their audience is mostly male. And there's an interesting double standard happening right now where men can put out all the sexually explicit content that they want, but they don't want to hear it from women. So you see that behind the scenes when you playlist a song from a woman who's sexually empowered, and it gets skipped a lot. In 2019, we launched Feeling Myself. It was designed to be a new home for female rappers. It was successful right away. A year later now, it has 1 million followers, and it's the second fastest growing playlist on Spotify. I don't think about being influential until someone brings it up. On a day-to-day basis, I don't walk around thinking, oh, I'm influential. I don't think about it. I feel it when the results come in, when I get a text from my friends, when my mentions are going crazy, or my DMs are going crazy with everyone saying like, yo, this is hot, this is dope. Before the pandemic, when when I would go out and people would notice. That's great validation to have, to have your peers take note of, some of the things you're doing. There's a feeling you get from moving the needle and influencing culture. It's like a high. And once you catch that high, you want it again and again and again. The Carl Chery that started out at SOHH, XXL, BET, is essentially at the core the exact same person that he is now at Spotify. I think I'm just an evolved version. How is he different? He's matured, he's evolved, but deep down, it's still the same person. I'm Carl Chery, and I'm a disruptor because I think big.